Hello everyone, this is Ashley Tucker. Thank you for joining me today. I created another card for Brutus Monroe today, and I decided to take a little bit of a break from Christmas cards and create a colorful birthday shaker card. I started out with this Brutus Monroe stamp set called Birthday Bears, and I picked out this bear because I thought he looked a little bit sassy, and I stamped him onto some Bristol smooth paper, and I used the Raven detail ink to stamp that. I'm going to be using a few different colors of aqua pigment paints to color in this bear. I started out by adding a little bit of the brown color and the yellow color to my palette. I thought that these two colors mixed together would create a really nice color for the fur on my bear. For the painting on the bear, I used a No. 2 watercolor brush. For the first layer of color, I kept it pretty light, and I actually had a little bit more yellow in the mixture than brown. Once the first layer of color was done, I added a little bit more paint to my mixture, and this time I made sure to add a little bit more brown than yellow, so that the color is just a little bit darker, and then I used that paint to do some shading. Now this second layer is just a touch darker than the first layer, but after that I did a third layer, and for this one I added even more brown to deepen up the shading even more. I made sure to let the fur dry completely before I moved on to painting the party hat and the cupcake. If I started painting the cupcake while the fur was still wet, the color from the cupcake could very easily run into the fur, and that's not what I wanted. So for the cupcake, I used the colors red and orange, and then for the party hat, I actually took the color green and I watered it down just a little bit and then added it with the yellow color. And then once it was dry, I went over it with the green color and did some stripes. For some finishing touches on the bear, I darkened up the nose with the brown color, and then I took the pink and I watered it down a lot and then just dropped in some little drops on the cheeks for some blush. I used my scissors to fussy cut that bear out, and then I set it aside, and now I'm working on a background for my card. I really wanted to see what kind of rainbow I could get with these aqua pigment paints. So I took out the colors red, orange, yellow, green, turquoise, and blue violet, and I put them in my tray, and I'm just kind of doing a very messy watercolor across this piece of Canson watercolor paper. My initial thought was to do a really messy watercolor look, kind of like what I do with my Gonzai Tombi watercolors. And that wasn't looking bad, I really liked it, but I decided to change it up a little bit, and you'll see when I do that. One thing that I did notice when I was making this rainbow is when I was mixing the yellow with the green color started kind of overtaking that yellow color. So if you're mixing yellow with another color, you have to be really careful that you don't lose that yellow. Okay, so here's where I switch gears and decide that I don't want a messy watercolor look. So I dipped my paintbrush into the water and I just kind of went across the entire thing. And I really like the way that that looks. I set that aside to dry, and I'm going to work on the sentiment now. I picked out this stamp from the Birthday Bears stamp set, and I really love what it says. I thought it went really well with my sassy bear. It says, "Growing old is mandatory, but growing up is optional." I completely agree with that. I created a square frame out of some watercolor paper, and I'm going to glue that onto a piece of vellum that I cut to be slightly bigger than that frame. Now the reason that I used watercolor paper for the frame is just because of the size. All of my other white cardstock is already pre-cut, so I had to use the watercolor paper because the frame is just a little bit too big for my white cardstock. I put together a mixture of rainbow sequins, and I placed that right in the middle of the background of my card. As you can see, I have some foam tape on the frame of the window that I created, and I'm going to put that window right over the top of those sequins to create my shaker. I really love the way the vellum tones down the colors a little bit, because they were kind of bright, and that's okay, but I like them a little bit more toned down. Now normally with a shaker I use 2 layers of foam tape, but because I used vellum I only used 1 layer so that you can see through it a little bit better. But that also means that it's a little bit harder to move those sequins around, but that's okay. I used my Gina K Connect glue to adhere the little bear to the middle of the window, and then I used some foam tape to pop up the sentiment right underneath that bear. Okay, so now I'm going to work on the finishing touches for the card. I took out my Wink of Stella glitter brush and I added some sparkle to the sentiment strip, and I also added it to the vellum border around the frame. You guys know how much I've been liking glitter on my vellum for winter cards. Well, it's not just for winter cards because it looks great on the birthday card as well. Next, I was looking at my little bear and it looked kind of like he was floating in the middle of that vellum, so I wanted to ground him. So I took my white gel pen and I added a bit of a drop shadow underneath him, and then I also used that gel pen to add some highlights and details to the bear, and then this card was all done. Thank you for watching today. I hope you really enjoyed this birthday card featuring products from Brutus Monroe. All of the supplies that I used for this card can be found in the description down below. If you enjoyed watching today and you have not subscribed to my channel yet, I'd encourage you to hit that subscribe button so that you can see all of my future videos. I'm going to be back with a new video on Monday. Again, thank you for watching. I appreciate all of you and I hope you have a good day today.